I am happy to nominate Donna Simons, Liana Fantasia, and Alice Medeiros to receive the 2022 Southeast Area Staff Excellence Award in recognition of their collaboration and teamwork in meeting the needs of an individual who was homeless, diagnostically challenging, forensically involved, who was lacking adequate treatment, was aimless, hopeless, and at risk of suicide. In this, I would like to recognize them for their perseverance and hope-filled interventions that ultimately resulted in this individual being established in permanent housing and ongoing community supports. This individual was about to be closed to the department due to lack of engagement and commitment to services when Donna was assigned as case manager. Donna immediately made a commitment to this person that she would be available, responsive, and do all she could to support the individual in gaining housing and treatment. The challenge was that this person had legal and credit issues that made finding affordable and, most importantly, safe housing more than very challenging. This problem was made even more dire due to the fact that the individual requires very specific trauma-informed treatment and had other circumstances and risks that required that providers should be close at hand. Because the individual could not find housing in any community, it followed that identifying appropriate and local providers became impossible. The individual felt caught in its catch-22, became despondent and disillusioned with services, and ultimately hopeless with consistent suicidal thoughts. Donna Simons' commitment to this individual was demonstrated by her working with and following this person while homeless in a car, respiting in various programs. She was there through hospitalization and even fighting for the right of this individual to receive crisis services in her own community. It was very difficult and challenging work, and admittedly, the individual served presented Donna with many challenges that tested her skill and dedication. Ultimately, the individual agreed to a referral to the 90-day transitions program within the Area on Grounds program. With Donna, lead clinician Liana Fantasia, and house manager Allison Medeiros, each committed themselves to working as a team to assess the needs, identify the objectives, and to assist this person in meeting her twin goals of stable, safe, permanent housing and effective treatment in the community. Safety and managing risk, especially the risk of suicide, were the primary focus of their work together. The clear-eyed assessment of Liana helped define the course of treatment and support this individual required. To her credit, Liana took on the difficult challenge of getting up a framework of therapeutic and behavioral expectations and requirements that sought to give this new resident the clear margins of appropriate and safe behavior within the program. With Liana, house manager Allison Medeiros worked daily to create and restate by example and a spirit of open acceptance how the resident could be successful in the program, how to be successful in communicating needs, and how to be successful in achieving the identified objectives and goals, and importantly, how to remain safe. At times, the resident could not tolerate the containment of these supports and would impetuously leave. Often this intolerance was born out of frustration with the time it took to identify next steps, frustration with living with other residents, and hopelessness that things would never get better. A statement such as, "I might as well be dead," would certainly be expressed at such times. However, the program guided by Donna's example and with Liana and Allison taking the lead, these primary supports would flex with the resident, would attempt to keep communication open, would call in appropriate crisis supports when needed, and most importantly, did not close the door when the resident was ready to return. Ultimately, this individual's goals were realized when a subsidized apartment in a safe neighborhood in New Bedford was identified. It has to be acknowledged that the openness of FHR and the New Bedford site's contract monitor to this referral made this opportunity possible. The person served reports greatest satisfaction with the apartment. However, many challenges, especially that of finding specialized providers, remain. The process of hope and healing continues. This individual is as near a textbook case that can be found of how trauma with attendant personality and behavioral issues can so often confound and disrupt treatment and care in a community setting. Oftentimes, providers and clinical professionals find working through the challenges presented by such individuals very difficult and frustrating, especially if the work with such individuals requires a team approach. 3 things are required if this work is to be successful: communication, and even more communication. Liana Fantasia, Alice Medeiros, and especially Donna Simons are exemplars of the need to make a commitment to communication if the care and treatment and the management of risk of such individuals is to be at all successful. It wasn't always pretty, and it wasn't without its frustrating moments for everyone on the team. But in the end, it met the needs of the individual served. It helped to realize this person's aspirations and, by giving this individual hope and an opportunity for healing, addressed and mitigated this person's risk for self-harm and suicide during a very volatile transitional period. Congratulations to Donna, Liana, and Allison.